Welcome to GCE 105, Fundamentals of Counseling Psychology. Fundamentals of Counseling Psychology, Study Session 1. Introduction, Meaning and Concept of Guidance and Counseling. Guidance and counseling are two elusive words that cannot be pinned down to definition. It has been defined sometimes to convey each author's opinions and biases. Guidance and counseling is defined as a process used in assisting an individual having problems in any facet of life so that he can be more effective, satisfied, and useful to the society in which he lives. In this study session, you will learn about the basic concepts of guidance and counseling, the difference between the terms guidance and counseling, and the services that the school should make available for its students. Learning outcomes. At the end of this study session, you should be able to 1. Define guidance and counseling. 2. List the major similarities between guidance and counseling. 3. Highlight some of the services rendered in the school by the school counselor. The concept of guidance and counseling. There is much overlap among the various definitions, but a substantial agreement is evident. That is, guidance is the process of helping an individual understand himself and his world. Literally, the word guidance derives from the word guide, which means direct, watch over, know, pilot, manage, steer, aid, lead, and inform. Many definitions of guidance, some of which make the concept more explicit, are given in the discussion that follows. Busari 2005 defines guidance as the process of helping individuals discuss and develop their educational, vocational, and psychological potentialities and thereby achieve an optimal level of personal happiness and social usefulness. Akimboye 2000 opined that provision of guidance in schools is necessary to help students gain adequate knowledge and understanding about the skills, attitudes, and values that they must cultivate in order to live comfortably in constantly changing society like ours. A. Adjust to his environment. Develop the ability to set realistic goals for himself. B. Realize his potential in obtaining these goals. And C. Integrate these experiences with a concept to self-improve the total educational program. According to them, when used, 1. A concept. Guidance denotes the utilization of a point of view in order to help an individual. 2. An educational construct. It refers to the provision of experiences that help pupils to understand themselves, accept themselves, and live effectively in their society. Guidance asserts that schools are responsible for the total personal growth. 3. Development of children, and not merely only for their intellectual development, nor only for their character development in any narrow sense. Second, it stresses the uniqueness and individuality of each child and adds a new dimension to the idea of education as the promotion of self-fulfillment and self-actualization. 4. A service. It refers to procedures and processes organized to achieve a helping relationship. From the above, guidance can be seen as an umbrella term that refers to all that is done to protect and guide the development of students. It is the help given by one person to another in making choices and adjustments and in solving problems. Guidance aims at aiding the recipient to grow in his independence and ability to be responsible for himself. It is a service that is universal, not confined to the school or the family. It is found in all phases of life. In the home, in business and industry, in government, in social life, in hospitals. Indeed, it is present where there are people and in need, and wherever there are people who desire to help. The model of counseling. Thompson and Popham, 1972, defined counseling as a person-to-person relationship in which one person helps another to resolve an area of conflict that has been hitherto resolved. The helper in the relationship is, by virtue of his training and experience, a counselor, who attempts to assist the student, that is client, in becoming an independent person capable of resolving his conflict situations. Counseling has gone beyond conflict resolution. Counseling has been used to denote a wide range of procedure, including advice given, support in times of trouble or need, encouragement, information given, and test interpretation. Busari 2005 explains that the concept of counseling is essentially democratic, in that the assumption underlying a theory and practice are, first, that each individual has the right to shape his own destiny, and second, that the relatively mature and experienced members of the community are responsible for ensuring that each person's choice shall serve both his interests and those of society. Differences between guidance and counseling. The actual differences between the term guidance and the term counseling has been a subject of debate even among specialists. Schertzer and Stone, 1974, claimed that the attempts to differentiate between guidance and counseling have not met with any notable degree of success. They further say that distinctions between them are artificial and that the terms should be used interchangeably. In the opinion of Taylor, 1971, there are a number of peculiar difficulties in defining guidance in order to distinguish it from counseling. The chief differences lie in the authority of the person doing the guidance. The table below shows the difference between guidance and counseling. The areas of difference include meaning, process, focus, goal, size of group, leaders' orientation, nature, structure, setting, content, initiation, and conclusion. School guidance services. Guidance services may be defined as professional aid to individuals and small groups in dealing with commonly recurring personal, educational, and vocational needs and problems. They are often classified to the area of life in which the problems occur. Thus, we have 1. Appraisal services. Appraisal service involves gathering, organizing, and interpreting information or data about the student for the purpose of understanding himself. When a student understands and knows his own strength and weakness, he can make reasonable choice from different alternatives at his disposal. The appraisal is usually concerned with academic, personal, and social development of the students, planning and the achievement of personal goals. Information about the student is usually collected through interview and written reports from parents, other teachers, and the use of psychological tests. All the necessary information or data needed for appraising, that is, evaluating a student, are usually kept or obtained in the pupil cumulative record CADR student inventory. 2. Information services. This is designed to provide students with a greater knowledge of educational, vocational, and personal social opportunities so that they can make better informed and realistic choices and decisions about their educational and vocational plan. 3. Counseling services. The three major counseling services that should be provided in the school are vocational counseling, academic counseling, and personal social counseling. A. Vocational counseling. Vocational counseling deals with problems of selection, training for, and adjustment to occupations. Vocational counseling is a systematic study of each student with a view to suggesting possible careers or jobs. It aims at helping young people to come to a clear realization of their aptitudes, attainments, interests, dispositions, and circumstances in the light of occupational demands. The ultimate aim of vocational counseling is to match the intellectual, educational, and personality characteristics known to determine success in particular careers and jobs. B. Academic counseling. Academic counseling consists of problems of learning, teaching, and education generally. Academic counseling aims at assisting the student to make the most of his educational opportunities. This means educating him towards becoming a cultivated individual and at the same time preparing him for participation in a life activity which will be socially useful and personally satisfying. C. Personal social counseling. Personal counseling aims at dealing with interpersonal problems and problems of life adjustment with fellow students, parents, and teachers. Orientation service also assists the student to get used to his new social surrounding, know the staff and fellow students. It helps both the new and old students get familiar with the school, its history, its traditions, its rules and policies, and its vast opportunities. According to Napier, student orientation programs have two basic purposes. A. The attempt to assist students in his effort to adapt to the demands of the school. B. They enable members of staff to become familiar with the individual students so that each may be given the type of academic and social experiences most useful. This should be an ongoing process. Referral services. The teacher should refer students to other personnel who can render invaluable service to them. He may refer students to the dentist, the medical officer, the optician, the physiotherapist, the audiologist, and the labor officer according to each student's needs. Objectives of guidance and counseling in school system. The current interest in the establishment of a two-tier secondary school system of 6-year duration in Nigeria, which is to be given in two stages, a junior secondary school stage and a senior secondary stage, each stage being of 3-year duration, is a consequence of many expectations which the traditional grammar school type of institutions has failed to fulfill. The grammar school type of secondary education is inadequate to develop individual, Nigerian, and nation at the rate and tempo required to meet our technological manpower requirements. To make up for the identified deficiencies in the grammar school type of secondary schools, the aims of secondary education within our overall national objectives have been stated as follows: preparation for useful living within the society and preparation for higher education. From the review of literature, 3 central aims of counseling are apparent. First, to create a self-reliant person who understands his strengths and weaknesses, is able to make wise choices and decisions without the help of a counselor. Second, to help individuals to adjust satisfactorily to their society and probable personal futures. Third, to ease the work of teachers in schools. Williamson, for instance, suggests 3 main aims. A. To help the individual to order his experiences. B. To help him to define his goals. And C. To help him define his values. From the foregoing, the following may be drawn as the objectives of the school guidance program in the 2 tiers of secondary educational system. 1. Equip the students with the skills of making appropriate and satisfying choice. In this context, students have to bear in mind the basic considerations for choosing subjects which eventually should be offered at the senior secondary school examination. Such factors include: A. Interest, the soil in which knowledge grows. B. Ability, without which the interest might be frustrated. C. Availability of teachers and learning materials, without which the dream of students in choosing subjects might not come true. It is expected that these subjects, which should be chosen to assist students to choose their future careers wisely, should conform to the guideline of science, technical, commercial, or art-based careers. 2. Enable the students develop positive self-image. The secondary school system today is being defiled with series of antisocial acts, perhaps because of failure on the part of students to identify the goal of counseling. Acts like examination malpractice, involvement in secret societies or occultism, alcoholism, drug abuse and addiction, prostitution, and so on, do not make for positive self-image. Instead, counseling is meant to assist students to identify their worth in society as high achievers and not low achievers in schools. 3. Assist students develop adequate time management skills. Oftentimes, students fail their examinations or perform poorly because of their inability to make good use of their time at school. This is indeed true of many secondary school students who place their personal enjoyment above other considerations. Such students spend good time attending parties at weekends, watching non-educative films, drinking alcohol, and so on, to the effect that they hardly have time left to study to justify the money their parents spend in sponsoring their education. 4. Encourage students to develop good interpersonal relationship. According to La, Okwede, and Bullos, interpersonal relationship refers to a cluster of activities involved when two or more people interact with one another in a specified setting or environment, either at home, school, or place of work, community, friendship circle, among others. Good interpersonal relationship therefore involves mutual self-disclosure among students, cultivating togetherness, peaceful coexistence, cultivating the spirit of give and take among students, living well and happily in the school or community, at home, among staff members, and among fellow students. Through good interpersonal relationship, students grow to be worthy in character and learning. 5. Help students cope with examination anxiety. Any student preparing for an examination is in a way bound to be anxious of what it will look like and how to approach it and whether it could be passed at high grade or low grade. But most of the time, ill-prepared students get more worried because they know that they have not put in any effort towards it. Rimfa 2002 states that rather than blame themselves for poor performances, sometimes students resort to all sorts of flimsy excuses such as bad teaching method, teachers' lack of knowledge of the subject matter, difficult questions, poor timing of the examinations, teachers' hatred for some students, and so on. 6. Assist teachers, other staff members, and parents in understanding the needs. Generally, teachers are trained to handle teaching learning situations and they only have elementary knowledge of adolescent psychology. Even though the parents bring up their children daily, they may not at all know their children's innermost problems. It is therefore the duty of counselors to 1. Understand better the individuality of each student for whom they are responsible. 2. Participate in helping students attain the guidance objectives. 3. Develop flexible curriculum to provide meaningful education for each student. 4. Plan program of educational and vocational training consistent with their goals. Implement student articulation between junior secondary school and senior secondary school and post-secondary experience. Assisting parents to A. Understand their children's educational progress. B. Develop realistic perceptions of children's development in relation to their potentials. C. Participate in helping their children to attain guidance objectives. Assisting counselors to A. Understand the students for whom they are responsible. B. Understand the educational programs of the school. C. Participate in helping to attain their guidance objectives. Assisting the government to understand the characteristics of schools, students, population, and conditions under which learning takes place. Participate in helping students to attain their guidance objectives. In executing these objectives, the counselor should be guided by some of the basic principles that support the guidance function. A statement of these basic principles is: 1. Guidance is concerned primarily and systematically with the personal development of the individual. 2. The primary mode by which guidance is conducted lies in individual behavioral process. 3. Guidance is oriented towards cooperation. 4. Guidance is based upon recognizing the dignity and worth of individuals as well as their right to choose. 5. Guidance is a continuous, sequential educational process. From the foregoing, you might conclude that the primary objective of guidance is the new educational system is to render a service to individuals. Such a service is not distinct but identical with education. Summary of study session. In this study session, you have learned that 1. Guidance and counseling is defined as a process used in assisting an individual having problems in any facet of life so that it can be more effective, satisfied, and useful to society in which he lives. 2. Counseling is used to denote a wide range of procedure including advising, giving support in times of trouble or need, encouragement, information, giving, and test interpretation. 3. The chief differences lie on the authority of the person doing the guidance. 4. Guidance services may be defined as professional aid to individuals and small groups in dealing with commonly recurring personal, educational, and vocational needs and problems. 5. The current interest in the establishment of a two-tier secondary school system of 6-year duration in Nigeria, which is to be given in 2 stages, a junior secondary school stage and a senior secondary school stage, each stage being of 3-year duration, is a consequence of many expectations which the traditional grammar school type of institution has failed to fulfill. We have come to the end of study session 1. Thank you.